Whether it is adding joy to your life or leading an unhealthy lifestyle, somewhere at the core is food. Today we have someone who's surrounded by food all day, someone who's creating food but has begun his journey from being fat to fit himself. He's realized that obesity is the root cause of many diseases that takes life out of the years you are living. He's a chefpreneur, he's a restaurateur. Our guest today is Chef Ajay Chopra, a name to reckon with within the Indian culinary universe for the past 25 years. He has co hosted and judged the popular show MasterChef in India for season 1 and 2. He has been a chef, he's been a partner to many restaurants in India and overseas. He's very passionate about men taking to cooking. He feels daddies can make a lot of difference, not just to food, but changing the lifestyle of not just themselves, but of the people around them. Let's talk to Chef Ajay Chopra. Welcome to Wellbeing Wednesdays. Chef Ajay, you have been into food business for 2.5 decades, so 25 years. How did this all begin?
I think it was not an obvious choice, I would say. My parents wanted me to become a doctor or an engineer, just like any other parents would be at that point in time. And in fact, the choices were very less. You only had a few choices for career to be made. But I came across this television program which inspired me. It was on Doordarshan that time. So this program actually said that there's something called as hotel management which you could do, and you could either become a flight purser or a hotel manager or a chef. And to be honest, Chef Sanjeev Kapoor had started to come on television very recently, and I quite enjoyed watching him. I don't know why. Sometimes you don't have all the answers, but then I did enjoy watching him. And then I found a little more about it, and then found out that yes, I could do this course, and finally got myself into it. But when I entered IHM, it was 197% sure that I would be a chef, because I just went inside the kitchen, started loving it, enjoying it. I was enjoying my kitchen days right from the age 11, but I never thought that I could make this a profession. But there, standing in the hotel school kitchen, I knew that this is my life.
So, Chef, the first thing that comes to mind when we talk about food is taste. But the need of the hour is the taste must gel well with the health. And so, what is your take on this?
So my take is very simple. See, I'm a Punjabi. Now, without taste, I cannot eat. And I eat with all my 5 senses. So, first of all, it's a myth that healthy food cannot be tasty. Rajma chawal, kadi chawal, for example, is probably the healthiest food. The only difference is that you have to cook the chawal without the mard, and then it becomes healthy. Kadi mein pakode mat dalo, it's healthy. Rajma is healthy. Chane is absolutely healthy. Bhature mat khao, roti kha lo. It's the choices that we start then making to adjust ourselves that, okay, fine, I love chole, but yaar, bhature nahi kha paunga. Agar bhature khane hai, so I can have it at home, because I know the oil outside is going to be possibly used 200 times, and, it's got full of trans fats. But if I have to eat bhature, hey, I have a YouTube channel which serves you a recipe which you can make at home. Make it in fresh oil. Deep fried food is not harmful. Everything in moderation is great. But if we eat deep fried food every day, then that is harmful. But if you're having, let's say, twice a month, it's okay. Our body is made and designed to eat in such a manner that we can actually enjoy different flavors and then keep having them. But our problem is that we overdo things. We love something, so we will be on our dessert freak. We will be on our street food streak. So we will just go on and on about it, and then say, oh, I'm in food coma. But obviously that's unhealthy. So I think healthy food is tasty. You have to just think differently, think through it.
So tell me one thing. You were on the healthier side, and suddenly you started becoming conscious and mindful, and you began your journey from being fat to fit, right? Yep. How did this, what was the trigger that brought you on this journey from being fat to fit?
So, I my journey started when I was 18, and the very fact that you're in a hotel and you are surrounded with food, is overwhelming. So when I was doing my industrial training, I saw, not 10, 20, 40 gulab jamuns, but I saw 4,000 gulab jamuns in front of me. 4,000 में से आप 10 gulab jamun खा लो, nothing is going to change in that patila, right? Nothing is going to, like, nobody is going to find out that, oh, 10 gulab jamuns are lesser. So you would actually go inside the walk-in and hog on those rasgullas, rasmalais, mithai. And I have a sweet tooth, like I have 32 of them. So I just love my sweets. And over a period of time, I didn't realize that I was just eating whatever came my way. I would become a chef. I was standing on the pass, serving sandwiches, extra French fries, going inside. Uh, Anything extra going inside. No timings of food, having lunch at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock sometimes, having dinner at 1 o'clock in the morning. So the body was abused. And what it did to my body was I became 118 kgs. But my job has been, and I think will be, that I will have to be on my toes all the time. It is a standing job. I can't be cooking with a chair in the kitchen. So that's the very trigger that when I started to have extreme backaches, my legs started to pain, and also I started to have, what is called diabetes, and everything around it. So all the health symptoms start when diabetes starts. That was for me that now the alarm has been raised. Either I do something about it or I don't. If I don't, then I'm only going to enjoy so much of it. If I do something about it, then I can enjoy a little longer. So I think that's where I started to think that, that fat to fit journey has to begin. I know I'm nowhere close right now, but I've lost about 12 kgs from where I was. But there's a long way to go. The only thing is that, when I was fat, I was also adamant. I would also think to myself that, there's a saying that don't trust a skinny chef, trust a fat chef because he gives you good food. But now the whole role is reversed, the thought is reversed. People say, don't trust a fat chef, he'll make you fat. Trust a skinny chef because he'll going to give you healthy food. Today Ranveer Brar is more popular than me purely because he's much more thinner. And obviously, making or being thin also adds on to your looks and your persona and your health, your fitness, everything. It's a full package. So why not?
So, chef, tell me one thing. I mean, the trigger was there. You realize you needed to bring that change within you. But now, obviously, keeping in mind your profession, the environment did not change. What changed inside you, and what is it that you are doing? What are the challenges that you face, and how do you overcome? Loaded question.
Yeah, it's a very good question because it's a very practical question. And anybody who is listening to this interview and would want to learn or take away something from this is going to say that it's very easy to say or very difficult to do. And that's exactly what I was telling myself and everybody else around me. But I think, it is that sometimes that alarm which ticks and you have to work around it. Sometimes it's before the alarm. Some people are like that if I have a 5 o'clock flight, I have to get up at 3 o'clock. They probably are up at 2:30 and they're ready. But I was never like that. I would probably be getting up at 3:15. So, there are different personalities, but my only suggestion is that unless we start, it's not going to happen. Now, when we start, what do we do? So, for me, the environment didn't change. Everything tasty was still around me. The gulab jamun was still around me. But every time I would go and pick up a gulab jamun, I wouldn't go for the next one, because my wife and my children's face would come near me. It's almost like somebody who's smoking has to see the cigarette packet and see those ugly lungs that are printed on the cigarette packet. Still, people smoke, because they say, nothing's going to happen to me. But this is exactly what the case is, that we don't realize that eating unhealthy can actually kill you. Eating unhealthy can actually make you bedridden. Maybe not now, maybe 5 years later. But do you want to be like that? Do you want to die on a bed or do you want to die running? I want to die running. I want to die having fun with my family. I want to die traveling around the world. That's how I want to die. But that whole thought that no, I don't want to live a life like that gives you that kick. Okay, fine. I used to have 10 cups of tea in a day. Now it's only 2, maximum 3 in very bad days. I have replaced that with black coffee, in the middle. So 1 cup of tea in the morning, 1 cup of tea in the evening. Sugar. So I think for me, I've taken off sugar from my lifestyle. Instead of sugar in my tea, I have jaggery in my tea. But there are times when I crave for a gulab jamun or I crave for a rasmalai, so I have it. It's not that I don't have it, but then my next meal is like a beggar's meal. So my dietitian beautifully put it that I don't want to kind of kill your emotions and your तुम्हारे सारे अरमान तोड़ दूंगी ऐसा नहीं. uh, once in a while have it, but once in a while. And if you're having it, then the next meal should only be salads. And the other thing that I need to do is couple it with exercise and walk every day, which will make a big impact or bigger impact. I'm not been able to do that. So for that also, she told me that if you're not able to do a walk after your dinner for 45 minutes, then have your dinner at 6 p.m. So there are days when I'm traveling and I know that I can't be walking. So I don't eat anything after 6 p.m.
So tell me one thing, Chef Ajay, that what is the biggest culprit? Is it the food or is it the not exercising?
So I think, बचपन में ना हमें सिखाया था that there's something called as a balanced diet and a balanced life. Balance is a word which has gone off our windows. So whether it's eating, whether it's exercising, whether it's sleeping or binge watching, it's all on the OTT, over the top. Everything is over the top. So you look at food in an over the top manner, you look at entertainment in an over the top manner, and this is what has happened to us as a human race. So for me, I think it's not the food, it's not the exercise, it's just the way we think. So if we are thinking balanced, that it's a balanced affair. I've not been able to exercise today. Okay, I won't eat. I've eaten a lot. Let me not eat tomorrow. If I've eaten a lot today, let me exercise more tomorrow. So that's how any fitness trainer, any celebrity or any superstar will tell you, and that's their lifestyle. So if they eat something today, next day they're on diet.
When you look at the healthcare system that we follow, it is typically a sick care because you get unwell and then you become conscious about what is it that you need to do, whether it comes to exercise, food, medication, etc. But pandemic taught us to care for ourselves so that we don't get sick. So it's all about preventive. It is all about building immunity. What kind of foods and do you recommend people should be having so that they can maintain their healthy lifestyle?
Okay, so this is a very important question in today's day and age. So a few things that you can add on into your life, which will actually sustain you more. So there are things that the doctors also have proven clinically and said that these things help you. So a mixture of adrak and tulsi is a great immunity booster. So what we do every morning is just have a kada. So like I used to have a morning cup of tea, which I've completely taken off, and we have this hot water, which has got some ginger and some tulsi, or ginger and mint, or ginger and black peppercorn, some kind of kada. So ginger is great to build your immunity. Fresh turmeric or even normal turmeric is great to build your immunity. Whatever we think or we thought that was always had when we were sick, you make it a lifestyle day. So that things, it's a preventive course of action. कि मतलब आप पहले स्ट्रेप्सिल्स खाते थे जब आपको खिचखिच होती थी, पर आजकल स्ट्रेप्सिल्स को आप टॉफी की तरह खा लो. This is a bad example really, but I'm saying kada for example is the best example. Or lemongrass, for example. Lemongrass actually is used to take down fever. But if you have lemongrass tea, or you add lemongrass in your tea, it just keeps building your immunity. You don't even know about it. Similarly, we all know that the doctors keep telling us that you should have certain amount of oil only, because oil is not good for your body because the body cannot process it. But they don't, or not all the doctors tell you which oil, so which oil is harmful or good for you. So our body cannot possibly process two things. One is hydrogenated oils, and second is sulfurized sugar. It's a proven fact that cows have got not one but 4 stomachs, and scientifically, sugar was given to cows and they could not digest it. We have only one. So I think in an overall perspective, if you just don't want to make it like a big thing that we should have this, have not have this, simple changes in your life, removing sugar to the maximum, using cold pressed oils, which are very widely available today, in the most natural form, most unprocessed form, is what is going to keep you healthy for long.
Chef, you said that you have sweet tooth. You enjoy your sweets. You are now diabetic, or you were on the verge of being diabetic.
I am
Uh,
diabetic.
you are diabetic now. People with sweet tooths have craving for sweets. Right? It's a known fact. What kind of desserts or hacks would you recommend that you have tried on your own self that can help diabetics uh, enjoy the sweetness of the food they eat, yet not consume the harmful sugar?
So, you are a Sikh, and I'm sure that you've never tried a cigarette. Um, and people who smoke will tell you that the urge of smoking that cigarette is only for a few minutes. If you control that, 5 minutes. If you control that, you know that urge can actually go. But people just give in to that urge. The same urge is of sugar. In fact, sugar is because sugar itself creates that urge. It is that dark poison which people don't understand. The more sugar your body has, the more craving you will have. So what you need to do is, like you asked me for a hack, I have a date. After every meal, I have a date. I have a few raisins. That's natural sugar. I don't have fresh fruits because your body again can't. After meal, fresh fruits are a no. What I sometimes also do is, I have bajra ki roti. I put 1 spoon of jaggery powder and 1 spoon of ghee and put it in the mixie. It becomes churi. मॉम जो चूरी बनाती थी चीनी के साथ, मक्खन के साथ, वो मैं गुड़ के साथ बनाता हूँ, बड़ा टेस्टी लगता है. So if you look at it, Rajasthani churma is very similar. So you overcook your bajra ki roti, it becomes more crispier. Add some ghee, add some sugar, very tasty. Add some elaichi to it. So the whole point is that what can you come close to? I sometimes, like as a Punjabi, I love my curd with some chini on top of it. So instead of chini, now I put jaggery. Now I know the doctor has said कि only 2 to 3 spoons of jaggery a day. ऐसा नहीं है कि jaggery allowed है तो jaggery खाते जाओ. So sometimes it's 4 spoons, but it's still lesser harmful. Sometimes, it's the little things, it's the little changes which go a long way in making the lifestyle changes.
Chef, my next question to you is also about people resort to binge eating, especially when they have anxiety or when they are stressed, right? And that is also a time when your levels of consciousness or mindfulness are not at their highest levels, right? So they eat something, they binge into something. What do you have to suggest in terms of alternate foods that people can keep handy when they binge eat, whether it is stress or they don't sleep on time at night, so they want to munch on something? What is your suggestion on that?
So I think the ideal answer would be that, have 5 almonds or a spoon of flax seeds or maybe a glass of milk without sugar. But I know that when people have that craving and want to binge eat, these are not the things they look for. They look for a cake. They look for laddus. They look for something sweet. They look for chocolate. So the whole point is that in my life, this is what is happening. And it's very funny that as a chef, I'm talking about this. I have to go to the root of what is my anxiety for? What is making me anxious? Can I do something about that anxiety? So people resort to these things because this is what their body and their mind is telling them. But actually speaking, the anxiety has to be dealt with. Unless we deal the anxiety, these things will keep happening to us again and again. So I'll say something what Jesus says from the Bible. He says, "Cast your burdens unto me, and I will give you rest." And as a Christian, I want to imbibe that and say, okay, how much can I really do myself? I can't. So I just take that heavy bag, I put it on the cross, and I say, God, I'm done. Can you take care of this anxiety? And He does. He opens roads and ways for me, which are miraculous. So I think this is what people need to do: is go to go to God and ask for help. Go to their family and ask for help. Go and tell somebody that I'm feeling anxiety. It's because eating and binge eating is just a very peripheral problem that they're going into. The deeper problems are much worse. So I think the cure for anxiety is talking to someone, talking to God, and releasing yourself out.
So, Chef, like diabetes, The another problem that people in India are facing, I'm sure this is across the globe, but in India I see that quite common, is hypertension. And until very late, people are not even aware of it. And this is also a lifestyle disorder, which is an outcome of your food habits to a large extent. What is it that you recommend should be done by people in terms of the choice of foods when it comes to people with hypertension?
So I think these are medically strong diseases. Diabetes can actually harm your body to a large extent. So I would not take it lightly. Same as hypertension. The extreme case of hypertension is probably somebody's just nerves blasting. So we have to take this seriously. We have to go to the doctor, ask him what can I eat, because every body type is different. Some doctors might say that remove salt from your life. Some doctors might say stop eating fried. Some doctors might say stop eating chili. So to every body type will be different. Some non-vegetarian might have to give up meat. But the way to go forward is that each body is different, and hypertension definitely it behaves very differently. So for my mother, like I know my mom would love her cup of tea, but you know she was restricted to 2 cups of tea for the day. So there changes, lifestyle changes that one will have to make to combat. So even for diabetes, like I had to make these changes. Unless I can't be keep saying that okay, I'll eat whatever I want to and then still not have diabetes and just pop pills in my mouth and have insulin injections. That's not going to help. Ultimately, it's going to destroy my body internally. So I have to be very, very careful about it.
Now, chef, you are a chef. You're a professional chef. And if you look at the professional chefs, they're typically men. But when it comes to cooking at home, it is usually stereotyped as a woman needs to go and cook in the kitchen, right? Does this need to change and why?
So I'll just take the example, Arvinderji, that there are so many books in your background. You know, I know none of these books will say that men should not cook. Rather, no book in the whole world says men should not cook. But men, I don't know where from they read this and said, "नहीं नहीं मुझे तो नहीं खाना बनाना. I don't want to cook." So I think it's very cultural. It's very generational that women have been in the kitchen and men have been going out. But now everything is changed. I think women are going out as much as men are going out. Women are also as busy as the men are. So a lot of FMCG companies are using that share the load concept. Um, but that's really the truth. Unless we share load in a cosmopolitan country or cities like ours, it's impossible to survive. And I believe that for a healthy family, when both of the partners come together, whether it's raising kids, whether it's going shopping, whether it's cleaning utensils, whether it's cleaning the house, if you both doing together, it's very romantic. It's romantic because you're thinking about the next person. You're thinking not just about yourself, but hey, I'm tired. Even she's tired. Yeah. And that creates that atmosphere of love and bonding inside the house. More than that, cooking, for example, is like an art which the lady knows, but everybody can learn. You know, I wasn't a born chef. I didn't learn from my mother's womb. I learned it. So can you. And chefs like us have got YouTube channels today. We are helping people to open your YouTube, start cooking. If you feel like having restaurant food at home, start cooking. I've in fact written a book as well. It's called the Big Daddy Chef Cookbook, because I want men to cook inside the kitchen. All the men come back to me and say, hey, I don't know cooking. I say, okay, this is our YouTube channel. Log on to it. You want to have paneer makhni, butter chicken, you want to have chole, you want to have rajma chawal. Everything is there. Just go and start cooking. On top of that, during the pandemic, a lot of men said कि यार recipes तो बड़ी अच्छी बना रहा है तू, पर हमें तो प्याज काटना भी नहीं आता. So then I started Cook Academy, which is actually a course from basics. So I tell them this is a pyaj. This is not a this, aloo ye hai, pyaj ye hai. You know. So there are people who you ask them for a garlic and they'll probably bring brinjal or vice versa. So there are people like that who've never entered the kitchen. They're saying, "मेरे को पानी उबालना भी नहीं आता." I'm sure you must have heard like that. But it's a learnable skill. It's a life skill. I tell a lot of fathers, they said, you want your children to go to the US. And what would they eat there? You can at least teach them how to make basic dal chawal, basic sabzi roti, so that at least, 5 days out of a week, they can cook for themselves. It's not very difficult. Otherwise, they'll be living on pizzas and burgers and whatever's coming their way or spending a lot of money outside. So it's your choice. I think it's a life skill people can have. And if they start young, I think it will go a long way. It builds a family, like I said. It helps the other partner. It is a life skill. So there's a lot of positives to cooking.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you because it's a kind of a stereotype which has been carried from generation to generation because you have families who make an effort for their daughters to learn cooking at a younger age, but we don't tell our boys to do that. So I think there's a lot of responsibilities that we as family seniors need to bring it on. Uh, my next question to you is: I've heard a lot of people say that cooking is a spiritual process. And there's a reason why I picked up this question is because uh, I mean I don't want to name the people, but there are a lot of these spiritual masters who have said that there's a lot of love and happiness that goes into food when you're cooking with love. तभी हम माँ के हाथ का खाना पसंद था बट किसी और के हाथ का खाना सेम रेसिपी से मजा नहीं आता so what is your take on this? What do you believe?
You've touched at a beautiful spot because I use this statement to every college, every school that I speak about cooking to anybody. And you've pointed out the right example of the mom and the dadi. Everybody says, "My dadi khana bada acha hai." So I asked them as a chef, I know that if you put salt in a dish, it becomes salty. Put chili in a dish, it becomes spicy. Put haldi in a dish, it becomes yellow. So if you are putting love, it has to be tangible because it's becoming tasty. So where in this namakdani is love? And then they say, "Oh, to haathon mein hai." I said, no, it's very much tangible because you just said that it's, bringing flavor. So then again, I went back to the Bible and the Bible talks about love. It said love is patient. Love is kind. So now let's relate this to cooking that if somebody has to make, for example, bhuna gosht. A bhuna gosht can never become tasty unless the onion is browned. अगर आधे ब्राउन अनियन में आपने मटन डाल दिया वो भुना गोश्त बनेगा ही नहीं कभी उनका टेस्ट आएगा ही नहीं कभी तो वो पेशेंस हमारी नानी जी बोलती थी कि नहीं इसको यहाँ तक भूनना है फिर मटन जाएगा so that is something which is inert in food and the connection happens with human beings. That is why this skill is not so replicable. We are having machine made food today, but do you find that taste difference? Yes, you do. Why is that? Because human beings also bring in that touch of abstractness, that love, that whole emotion into it. Also, it's because you cook with all your five senses and you eat with all your five senses. And machines, unfortunately, don't have five senses. So how will you ever get that taste?
I agree with you, Chef. In fact, I have one more question related to food before I come to my question related to well-being. When you look at the herbs which are put in various foods, now each herb gets processed at a very different temperature, at a different condition. But abhi ye ho gaya hai, people pick up all the masalas, put it together, there's a curry made, and then you start cooking. Do you think we are losing our traditional ways of cooking?
I think, I believe, and I'm very confident of the fact that yes, there is a shortcut mechanism being used in many places to create dishes which possibly just look good or don't taste good. But cuisine has always evolved. So whilst I say the negative of it, I also say the positive of it. How a lot of chefs are drawing from their nani dadis and bringing into a modern plate. How they're thinking fermentation of a kanji and now bringing that kanji ka gajar to a use to make a slaw for a sandwich. So it's how we actually use the concepts of cooking and create newness to it rather than just getting away with saying that, okay, this is this. No, I mean, you have to understand that there are marriages made in heaven, even for food. So tomato and garlic is a marriage made in heaven. Tomato and basil is a marriage made in heaven. Tomato and oregano is a marriage made in heaven. But if you put tomato and good, वो भी अच्छा है actually. टमाटो के साथ बहुत सारी शादियां हो रखी हैं. वो बैड एग्जांपल इज बैंगन एंड मीट फॉर एग्जांपल. ओके, नहीं साथ में नहीं जाएगा. इट वोंट गो टुगेदर. वी ट्राइड, नहीं जाएगा. बट अगेन Turkish people use bangan and meat together. So, point I'm trying to make is that people have to learn and understand the basics of food. Sur tal, bina jane, gana, geet, ban nahi sakta. So
मजा नहीं
khana ban
आता.
nahi sakta. Maza nahi aata. It doesn't resonate inside. It's a song that you've heard, but you'll forget. So similarly, food you've eaten, you forget. But if this food which has got the sur and the tal and the basics of it, and there's a saregama happening inside, then only that food will be remembered.
So you are also a part of coming up with these new restaurants, new food choices, etc. Now, keeping it to well-being, one is when you go to a restaurant, of course, the food needs to be really good, the music needs to be nice, but what makes it, there are a lot of these restaurants or places that you go and you're not able to define ki isme kya hai, but you get those good vibes. So when you design restaurants and you work with founders, etc., is there a conscious level of thought behind creating a place that would create a good vibe?
Absolutely. I think you already answered my question, sir. Five senses is again what I live by. So when you're entering a restaurant, you have to smell the right vibe. You have to see the right vibe. You have to taste the right vibe with the flavors. You have to smell, everything nice. Smell, taste, touch. Very important. So you're looking at the restaurant and then you see. So I'm actually sitting in a restaurant which we are just creating. I'm just going to reverse the screen and show you. So this restaurant is still yet to happen. So there is nothing on the table, right? Now I need something on the table because that's going to engage me. There's a bar which is empty right now. There's a table here. There's a green color here, pink color here. So everything that happens right now is for a reason. So once the entire picture comes together, there is more florals coming in. There's more greens coming in. So the green and the green will match. The pink is to give a little bit of subtlety. The bar, when it has the bar bottles and everything, it will become the bar. The kitchen lights will be on. So everything will just sort of sink in. When we're making this is American bistro. So when we make an American bistro, we're thinking about what is America today, not America 20 years back. So today people are traveling a lot. People seeing a lot. People know what a Nashville burger is. People know what a Tex-Mex chicken is. So today you have to give them not just great food, but also a great experience. And I think for me, designing a restaurant is not about just putting tables, chairs, and a menu together. It's about the experience. It's about what you're taking back. Would you go back, to that restaurant? Would that create a memory in your mind and said, I want to have that burger in that restaurant, not just have a chicken burger. So that's the kind of memories that I want to build for people.
Since you brought up burgers, and in your earlier answer you spoke about kanji and how the gajar is used for making a sandwich and put it in a salad or something, how can we creatively create foods that are healthy for the kids and they are willing to consume it? It looks good, tastes good for a modern child.
So there are multiple ways, and I think the simplest way is what my wife taught me. Children love colors. So if you want to give them paratha and you want to give them sabji, they will not eat the sabji, they will eat the paratha. So make a carrot paratha. Use the carrot puree which is flavored to make the dough. It will become orange or red. And then you can make a puri out of it or make a paratha out of it. The same can be done with beetroot. The same can be done with, many of the things. My wife actually puts Loki in the pizza sauce and makes a pizza. So it's about getting them to consume these things when they are chotu and they are naive. But when they grow up, they have the choices of their own. So then teach them the right choices. Like, for example, everybody's talking about quinoa and this and that. You say, hey, kala chana has got more value, more protein than quinoa. Let's make a kala chana chaat. Let's make a kala chane ka duska. Let's make, so making more regional dishes which are probably getting lost. Have sattu, have a chocolate and sattu milkshake. What's the problem? So having a chocolate milkshake, adding a spoon of sattu just makes it to the next level. You will forget protein shakes if you start having sattu. So I think people have to just read more, understand more. What are the various things that can happen? So you and I are helping them to kind of, so anybody who's listening to this interview will probably take back a few things. So I think that the Indian culture actually has a lot of it already in the system. You just have to go and find out. So whether it's good fats, which is our Safed Makhan, whether it's sattu, which is our protein, whether it's our rajma chawal, which is again protein. So the balance that we have of protein and carbs is great, but when we are starting to overdo it, when we have aloo paratha every day, then obviously then we can't be blaming anybody else but us.
So it's basically acquiring the right knowledge about our foods and
And
then
balancing it.
thinking out of the box and experimenting it.
True.
Right. So my last question to you, Chef, is that what is your mantra for overall well-being? What is your mantra for yourself?
So for me, life is not just about eating right or doing certain things right. It's about doing everything right, and it's impossible to do everything right. So, like I first said, that I have to first submit to God so that I keep doing right things. There will be setbacks. There will be things that I will not like. But if I look at it in a 360 format, then I'm not going to lose my patience or become arrogant or become so angry if I have not got something. I'll be able to let it go. It's just the craving of us to have more and more and more and more is what defines us. No, it doesn't. What defines us is that, are we able to sleep well? Are we able to sit on the table and have an enjoyable conversation? Have a wholesome life. And that, if we start living, actually will give you joy and not happiness. And joy is more everlasting. Happiness is short-lived. So I think that's my two bits.
Chef, I think, this has been such a beautiful conversation. I really appreciate your taking our time, because anyone who goes through this conversation and watches this, I'm sure is going to find a lot of nuggets that they can experiment with in their own life. I really appreciate you taking our time to speak with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a very good conversation. Thank you. God bless.